Ang behenouches. Kitantawenin min chikiwe ushian.
I'm in Utah at Sundance showing a short film in the animated short Spotlight, and the film is called The Grandfather Drum. And it actually covers about almost 100 years of history with Indigenous people. And this drum was said to have special powers that was able to sort of bring people back to life. And it sits in a museum. And the story is about colonial history, sort of from my perspective. You know, it talks a little bit about residential school, for example, and just sort of the appropriation and theft of our spiritual and cultural items, like the drum, and what that means. What does it mean when our drums are sort of taken away and they sit in museums? So that is sort of a broader kind of overview of the story.
And why make it an animation? What is your background where you went with it being an animation as opposed to a live action film or something like that? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I was actually first approached to do a documentary about this drum, but it was very difficult to do, and I couldn't wrap my head around how to do it. There is no ending. The drum still sits in a museum, and the people weren't really ready actually either to have that drum be brought back to the community. So animation was, I'm not an animator, this is my first animation. I usually actually work in documentary. So it was kind of a big risk for me to do this, but it just kind of happened, you know? Like I think that with this story, I always felt like there was like, I was kind of being directed. You know, like I was, it was like I was chosen to actually tell this story and to bring this story to people. And I'm so grateful and amazed that it's actually at Sundance, because of course this is going to open it up to be able to share our stories of the people and of the Indigenous people of our lands.
What are your thoughts on being able to share your cultural stories, but also your cultural struggles with mainstream cinema?
I think sharing these stories is, I feel like I'm in a little bit of a kind of a unique position, especially with this particular film, because this film to me is sacred. You know, they're stories that are based out of, they're true stories, and they come from real places and with real peoples and real sacred items. And so, I mean, as excited as I am, there's also a huge sort of responsibility that I feel to our people and our stories, and I don't take that lightly at all. So at the same time, I feel like very cautious, and I kind of feel protective sometimes, you know, about stories. But I also know that this is a way in which that we can, share, the beauty and also some of our struggles. You know, being here, I was part of the Filmmakers in the Classroom program here at Sundance, and I showed the grandfather drum to a whole bunch of high school students. And there was only 2 that knew about the residential school history. And I mean, that to me was a great honor to be able to share some of our history with people outside of our own little circle, you know? So it's a really big responsibility, you know, but I'm really happy to be here.
Let me ask you, right now that you have a national voice in the U.S., anything that you want to say to the children that are watching, if they want to become filmmakers or if they want to become storytellers in the digital age, what message could you give them?
I think I would say I would not have ever believed that I'd be standing here right now. You know, I come from a very small community of, you know, just over 200 people, and it just seems so far out. But I just kept at it, you know, and storytelling to me and to a lot of people back home that I know, Indigenous folk, you know, it's something that we're really kind of stepping into in a really powerful way. And I think that it really, really, it's connected to our well-being. It's connected to us sort of finding our voice and reclaiming and all sorts of really, really great things. So I would just say, you know, don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to take risks, because this was a huge risk for me. And although sometimes I'm really terrified, I'm also like really grateful, and you know, it's kind of mind-blowing to be here. And you know, I'm just a small town girl. You know.